Hello and welcome to episode 1 of my knitting podcast, crafting podcast, I guess you could say. I'm guessing that it'll have both knitting and crafting wrapped up in one, depending on what I'm working on. I am somebody who starts a million hobbies and, I just like to dabble. I'm by no means an expert in any one thing, but I think mainly this will be a knitting podcast, so I guess this is kind of playing off of the King Salmon sweater videos that I had already made because that was kind of a knit along, follow along, casual type of thing. By no means made to be a guide or I guess maybe a little bit of a guide. Not really, more of just like a follow along support type of knit with me vlog progress check-in. I don't even know what. I just like watching those videos, so for me it was like, okay, well, I'm doing this anyway and I have to search for answers anyway, so why not just share with the crowd? So, but yeah, if you're new here, obviously I'm new here too. So my name is Heather and I'm based out of Wisconsin in the US. So mainly, I guess, the things that I have knit before and am looking at knitting in the future are mainly things for winter, cold weather, maybe 50 degrees and below. I did knit, maybe a couple summer items here and there or a couple accessories, but so just to give you an idea of the climate that I live in, I would say we probably have summer, like hot weather, maybe like 3 months out of the year. And then for the most part, it's pretty chilly, I guess. Not freezing cold tundra. I know that Wisconsin is literally called the frozen tundra, but it's becoming less and less like that as the years go on and on. So at least I remember when I was a kid and there was just a lot more snow than there is now. There's still snow, but we still see all 4 seasons, but summer is just usually pretty short here. So I just appreciate when people share the type of climate that they live in because it kind of gives me an idea of what are the pieces they're trying to knit and what they're most interested in, stuff like that, more like the materials that they're going to use, etc., etc. So I hope that's helpful. Anyway, I'm still pretty new to knitting, so I've probably been knitting for maybe like 2 years now, off and on. There are seasons where I knit more than others, especially the summertime. Maybe I take a little bit of a backseat on knitting and I do more, like paper projects and maybe a little bit more sewing projects and other stuff in the summertime. Summertime's really busy, so we're just heading into autumn and winter now. Actually, we're probably in winter pretty quick here. It's November now, so we're just on the cusp of Thanksgiving. I've already got our Christmas tree out, which I'm so excited for. So yeah, literally we just got our Christmas tree. We had it home and decorated and lights on and everything in the same night. So I am feeling all the festive vibes, and I'm very excited for it. And all the things that come with the holidays, meaning more projects. Yeah, so I guess this is very informal, but just I hope you enjoy seeing what I'm working on because I love seeing what everybody else is working on because I'm nosy like that. I'm constantly learning new things, so hopefully you can learn new things with me. Just to check in, I know the only videos I've posted on this channel before are about the King Salmon sweater, and I have since wrapped up that project. I think I will wind up posting the last check-in probably before this goes up, just for continuity's sake. But yeah, that project is finished. I won't be revealing it here because it'll already be revealed in that video. But final thoughts on that. I know in the last check-in, I did say that I was thinking about adding extra length in the future. And I think that will be probably sooner rather than later because I will say it bothers me a lot more than I think it would, having it a little too cropped. It's essentially like the perfect amount of cropped length to not move my arms up and down. Which in a normal everyday setting, if I'm at home or whatnot, it doesn't really bother me, but I'm somebody who likes to wear my knitwear out in my workplace, and I don't think that's super appropriate to have my torso out. Not saying I have any problems with it anywhere else, but in my workplace, I'd rather not. So I find myself wearing tank tops underneath that knit quite often, just to make sure that I have the appropriate amount of coverage underneath if I have to reach up. And I would rather not be doing that because it's a pretty warm knit. It's also just really soft and cozy, so I'd rather not ruin it by wearing a tank top underneath. I'm usually a type of person who does not like layering very much, so I guess that's something you won't really be seeing a ton on this channel, are cardigans. Granted, I will absolutely change my mind for the perfect cardigan. I have my eyes on the there's one that Petite Knit has right now that's really, really pretty, that I have my eyes on making just because I think it'd be a cute staple for like a coat. I'm not somebody who wears cardigans normally, but if it were the perfect one, honestly, I would make it. And I will say, I do wear cardigans, but not in the traditional way of layering them. I don't like to wear things underneath, so I usually just have them buttoned up all the way. And that's the way that I prefer to wear cardigans. So anyway, I guess first things first, since the King Salmon sweater has been knit, I've done a couple things. And first thing I did after finishing that project was try my hand at making my own colorwork chart because it has inspired me. So the first thing I did was knit something for my daughter, and she's turning 8 years old in a little bit. So she's right at the age where she's not gonna really ruin things, you know what I mean? With a bunch of food stains or a ton of grass stains. Granted, she plays hard, but you know what I mean. So she's at that age where she's not growing out of things so quickly, and so I felt like it was really time to invest some time to make something specifically that she wanted. So let me go get it. Okay, so this is the finished sweater, and yes, I did knit this up really quickly because this is a very chunky yarn. Let me see what it actually is because I'm not sure that I remember. So I had knit this sweater in the Bernat Forever Fleece in, I'm not quite sure what the colorway was called anymore. I think this is from something else. But I know for a fact that this is the same type of yarn. I've knit a different sweater with the same type of yarn. It is a 100% polyester, super bulky yarn. This is what I knit the bulk of the sweater in. And here's the finished object. See if you can see. So I just did a simple raglan construction with obviously the 2x2 ribbing on the bottom with a split hem, and the back is just slightly longer than the front. This is what she had wanted for a pattern. Like I said, I felt inspired to create my own colorwork chart pattern, so I figured I would try something very simple, and I started with little hearts. So I think they're just darling. They do go all the way around the sweater, obviously 360, and then I put the additional little fleas in here so that it would kind of carry the motif up the body a little bit. So I thought this was an easy way to start because it's essentially putting the shapes in a tube and not way up here by the raglan, because I have never done it before. I was a little bit nervous about that. I didn't really follow a specific pattern for this. I kind of just, with knitting so many raglans before, I kind of just winged it and figured that the raglan itself I wasn't nervous about. So I just started with I think this is a 2x2 ribbing for the neckline as well. I'm not super keen on this single layer 2x2 ribbing. Maybe it's just this yarn, but it doesn't hold its shape super well. I think because the yarn itself is so heavy, so bulky, so heavy. There's a lot of weight, like constantly pulling it out. So that's not my favorite, but I feel like if there were more fabric here, like say if I did do a folded over collar, it might be too hot. So it's kind of that compromise between a single layer, but maybe it stretches too much, and a double layer where it would just be suffocatingly hot. Like I said, this is super bulky. So I don't think I did very many decreases on the sleeve whatsoever. For the most part, I kept them wide on purpose because this kind of makes it easy to fold it up. She's very much into arts and crafts, or, you know, washing her hands and stuff like that. I just figured it would be easier, being a little bit more of a little kid, to be able to have the ability to roll it up several times and it's not uncomfortably tight on the arms. So it's nice and loose on her wrists. And yeah, obviously I'm not going to be showing my daughter today wearing this, but I'm pretty proud of it. She loves it. I will say the heart motif is obviously knit in different yarn, and that is knit in this Bernat baby blanket yarn. Now, this was not really what I had wanted to knit it with, to be honest, because I knew it would be super difficult to do, especially to carry over the floats and everything like that. It's just, I don't love knitting with this type of yarn, mainly because it breaks easy, it catches a lot, there's like barely any stitch definition in this yarn. It's great for a blanket because it's super cozy and plushy and warm, but it's not my favorite to knit anything else with. Maybe if you were to knit a bag or maybe a hat, it might be a little bit better suited, but I truly think it's for a baby blanket or a blanket or something of that sort. Maybe a scarf. Anyway, so this is Bernat baby blanket, and it's 100% polyester, super bulky yarn. So I had matched the Bernat Forever fleece super bulky yarn to this weight of super bulky yarn to kind of, okay, maybe they'll play nice together. I had the Bernat super bulky Forever fleece yarn already left over from something else, so it was kind of a stash buster project. Because I had already used it in a previous sweater and then ripped it back, literally frogged the entire sweater because I had kept on knitting it and ripping it back out and knitting it and ripping it back out. I think I maybe had knit 3 or 4 kid-size sweaters when I was originally trying to practice how to do a raglan sweater, which I think was a really valuable experience. Not knitting for the final finished product, but more knitting for the practice, because now I feel like I'm really well versed in how to knit a raglan pretty easily. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Even so, I said just previously I'm not really happy with the neckline, but I could pretty comfortably knit one on the fly now. So this was yarn that I had previously used in, like I said, many kids' sweaters that I had frogged completely. But then I needed something obviously to make the heart motif, and I didn't have any pink. So I took my daughter to Michael's, because Joann's is out of business now. I'm sure all of you who have previously shopped at Joann's feel my pain. But yeah, so I took my daughter to Michael's, and she had her eyes set on this baby pink baby blanket yarn. So I just made it work, and it's okay. Like I said, it doesn't have a ton of stiff stitch definition, but I think you could see it well enough. The floats are pretty long. I did wind up catching them in the middle of some of them. It doesn't look horrible. I maybe could have caught them more often. I think I only caught floats in about half of my color work chart. But you can kind of see, like, they're just, I was worried about the tension in this baby blanket yarn so much that maybe I had made them a little bit too loose in fear of them breaking and pulling and stuff. Because like I said, this is pretty fragile in my opinion, fragile yarn. By itself, I could snap this very easily. So that's why I had left my floats a little bit looser. Like I said, I did catch them a couple times, but yeah, it's not bad. Anyway, so that was my experience with making a color work chart. So it was really fun. I made it on some knitting app. I don't quite remember what it was. So I will look at that and I guess insert it here. And I thought the experience was pretty good, pretty user-friendly. Obviously, I was using the free version of the app, so it was more of a bare bones basic type of thing. But I do like that you can pick out your colors on the app and fill in the little squares like an Excel document. So yeah, overall this experience is really positive, and I would try my hand at making another color work chart in the future. Okay, so moving on from that project, I had immediately cast on another project that I had my eyes on, and that is the Saskie & Co., and hopefully I'm saying that right, the Saskie Moonbun sweater. And this actually is pretty close to the body being done already. So this is where I'm at. This is my current work in progress. I can see it's bunching up a little bit. I do get quite a bit of rippling, I guess, bunching in this yarn. This is actually the first object I've made with this small of yarn, which sounds, oh, I'm showing you the back. But anyway, that sounds crazy, but I was a bit intimidated because, you know, when you're first learning how to knit, you knit with chunky yarn to learn how to do stitches, and then you go progressively a little bit thinner and thinner. I thought I was going to get burnt out on this project, not really because of the colorwork portion, but because of the body and the sleeves. Because it's just a lot of stitches. And I'm somebody who really usually knits only one thing at a time. So I thought I would get really bored of this, to be honest, but I've been loving it. So I am literally in the first row of the 1x1 ribbing for the bottom of this sweater. Excuse me. I'm catching a cold or something, so my throat's a little bit dry, a little bit scratchy. So I apologize for my voice. But anyway, so this is where I'm currently at with the Moonbun sweater. The current modifications I have made are doing a folded over neckline, because I had done this with my salmon sweater and I really enjoyed it. It's super squishy and gauzy and really comfortable on the neck because it doesn't sit so high. So I did a folded over neckline. Pretty much everything up to here is exactly how the pattern writes. I did all the short row shaping and wrap and turns that it uses. This also uses wrap and turns, the same as the salmon sweater. One thing I did change in the actual colorwork portion are the bunnies. So the bunnies have little, I guess you call them like star details in their little bodies and the original colorwork chart. And I felt like I might lose that, or I didn't really enjoy the way that it kind of took away from the bunnies' definition, I guess you could say. I wanted my bunnies to be really pronounced. So I just took the star portion out of the body and just did the eyeball like normal. But anyway, so my bunnies are solid bunnies. But I just think this is so incredibly cute. I'm loving the pattern. Every time I bring this out of my project bag, I'm like, oh, it's so cute. I can't wait to wear it. So this is knit out of loops and threads. Luxe Merino wool blend in the color white, which I would say this is more of a cream color in my opinion, but it's in the color white, and this is a 55% superwash merino and 45% acrylic blend, and it is, let's see, a lightweight yarn. It says number 3. I can't really see anything else that would be helpful, but yeah, it's in a number 3. I don't know if this is just specific to US, where it gives you yarn sizes as well as the description of the yarn. So like I was saying, the Forever Fleece is a super bulky. That was a number 6. This is a number 3, so I guess it would be half as thick. So I knit the body, the main color, out of this white, and then I knit the contrasting color in the color Deep Sand. So that's this kind of caramel, kind of just tan color. I wanted something pretty neutral, not super yellowy, not super cool tone where it's going to be gray. I did see people knitting with like gray and cream, and it's really, really pretty too. But I kind of wanted this to have the same feel as what it looks in the picture. Normally, I would not really pay attention to the colors in the picture, but I loved the way that they styled it so much, and the way that it looks in the Ravelry page and on their website. I love Saskie & Co.'s whole vibe of their website. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I think they're actually having a sale right now for the new book that they're releasing. I think they have written a new pattern book as well. So maybe I'll pop a picture here just so you can see what it looks like. I am pretty excited because this is a little bit lighter weight sweater than what I currently have in my wardrobe that is hand knit. So yeah, it's going pretty well. The floats look really nice and neat and tidy inside. The only thing I caught floats on extra was in my bunnies, because I did take that star element out. I didn't want the floats to be ridiculously long, which is, I think, probably why the stars were added into the bunny bodies, because it does break up that chunk of stitches. But all in all, I think my stitches are, or I think my floats are pretty tidy. I felt more confident going into this type of project after having knit the King Salmon sweater, because I felt like it was really good practice. So I've been really enjoying working on more colorwork sweaters, because I found I really, really enjoyed just working on a colorwork chart regardless. One thing I will say that I did kind of mess up a little bit is the neckline in the back. I'm not sure what I had done, but there is a jog here where I had knit the collar down. You know, I must have done something where I started the row at the wrong point or lost a stitch or something like that. So I'm sure somebody out there probably knows what I had done. To be honest, I still don't know what I had done. It doesn't bother me a ton because it is in the back of the neck, but that is one thing that I found to be a mistake after the fact. But you know, it's perfectly imperfect and it doesn't bother me, so at least you'll know that it's hand knit. So yeah, this is where I'm at currently with the Saskie & Co. Moonbun sweater, and I can't wait to knit the rest of the body on this and the sleeves. But I have taken a pause on this currently to cast on another work in progress, which, like I said before, is highly unusual for me. Usually I will cast on one project, finish it, cast on another, finish it, etc., etc. But I had gotten a request from my aunt to knit something for my cousin who lives in Alaska, which is a lot colder climate than we live in. She had specifically requested something that was wool or heavy wool or merino wool. So this is where I'm at right now. As you can tell, this is another King Salmon sweater. And generally I wouldn't knit the same colorwork chart twice because I'm super excited about doing more different things, being kind of newer to knitting, experiencing different things. But like I said, this was a special request from my aunt to knit for one of my cousins out in Alaska. So she kind of left it up to me as far as what I wanted to knit. I was thinking about knitting cables because I kind of miss cables. As you can tell, I do like cables. This is something I had knit last winter. Last winter, my family and I and my neighbors and some friends, we started getting into skiing. So this was my project last winter when we were driving a decent amount of time there and back to go skiing. It was a cozy project for my very cold hands those days. So I guess I can go over this quick and then I'll tell you about my other work in progress. I probably should have done this in the beginning, to be honest. This is the Braidy Vest. And like I said, this was the first big cabling project that I had done, was this beautiful vest. I'm trying to think of what I had changed on this pattern because it was a year ago. I do think I added just a touch more length to the body, but that's about it. I think I still have the yarn left over from this project, so let me see if I can find that. Surprising, I guess not surprising, because it's only recently that I started actually calculating how much yarn that I need for each project instead of just guessing. So I overbought for this specific project and I knitted out of this KC Knit and Crochet cozy yarn that is 50% superwash wool and 50% premium acrylic in the color Hydrangea. And this is a number 6 super bulky yarn. This is like kind of difficult to work with, I'm not gonna lie, especially since it just pulls apart so easily. It's barely spun. You know what I mean? It just doesn't lend itself well to being jostled around and twisted about. So I was very careful when I was doing this project, especially because it's a bunch of cables and you're moving stitches around on different needles. I found it very easy to poke my needle into the middle of this yarn because it's so huge and accidentally rip a little bit off. And that's not being a super aggressive knitter either. I think it was just really easy because it's just a huge jumbo weight yarn. But I will say I've worn this many times and I think it still holds up really well. I've not shaved it one time. I have not really been gentle on it. One thing I do appreciate about this pattern is the cables are opposite. They're not all going the same direction. So I really appreciate that. And the big braid in the middle of the neck is nice. And yeah, I just appreciate that all the cables are opposite. So I've been really enjoying wearing this, and I think it was a really valuable knitting experience to knit something with cables that didn't have a ton of sleeve length too, because by the end of this project I was just done. But anyway, so this is the Braidy Vest. Okay, so back to this. So this is another version of the King Salmon sweater. And excuse my dog hair on this sweater because it lives in my lap and I have 2 dogs. So it tends to happen. But yeah, so this one I had splurged and told my aunt to get some 100% heavy merino wool. So this is the Knitting for Olive heavy merino in the color Soft Cognac and Marzipan. That's the food that you eat that's like made out of nut paste, right? I don't quite know. So if somebody knows, please tell me. I feel like you should know that. But yeah, so this is the Knitting for Olive heavy merino, and I am loving knitting with this yarn. It's so soft and pretty heavy, honestly. It feels a lot more rustic, and you can definitely tell it's got more stitch definition in it than something that I have knit with in the past. I've knit with a lot of acrylic and a lot of polyester, so it feels good to knit with something a little bit more natural and rustic. The cousin I'm knitting this for, he is an adult man, so I'm knitting a size large. and ordered enough yarn to add more length to the body because he's pretty long in the torso. So this is where I'm at right now. I did do a double folded over neckline for the collar because, like I said, I just really enjoy it. I think it's really substantial and squishy and gauzy and comfortable, especially to seal up that part of your neck that might get a little drafty, especially in cold weather. I did not make the same mistake on this neckline as I did on the Moonbun sweater. Hopefully it's in focus, but you can see at the back of the neck, I did not make the same mistake. So I'm not sure what I did on the Moonbun sweater that made it so apparent that there was a jog there. But thankfully, it didn't repeat on this sweater. So I'm not sure if it was something in the pattern or if it was user error, but I'm assuming it was user error. But anyway, I love this color combo. I think it's really easy to see the contrast in color. I had thought about going with something a little darker, but I'm glad that I went with the marzipan color because I think it stands out really, really well. So I'm about, I would say, a little less than half, so maybe about a third way done with the colorwork chart. Obviously it's bigger than mine was, so it's probably gonna wind up being huge. But I'm really enjoying knitting this. I don't normally have multiple things on the needles, and especially not 2 colorwork projects, but I kind of think it's fine because the Moonbun sweater doesn't have any more colorwork added to it, though I might change my mind and add something to the sleeves because I have a little bit extra of the contrasting color. But the Moonbun being done with the colorwork portion, it's more of a mindless knit, especially when you get to the sleeves. So I'm okay with it. I will say something I want to learn how to do is knit sleeves 2 at a time because I think that would be really helpful and less of a drag because I hate knitting sleeves 1 at a time. Granted, I don't mind knitting sleeves themselves, but like to finish a whole sleeve and then go back to the other sleeve and do that all over again just kind of sucks. So I'm hoping that I will take the time. No promises, but I'm hoping that I'll take the time to learn how to knit them 2 at a time because I feel like every person I have talked to or watched that has knit sleeves 2 at a time never goes back. So I feel like it's a pretty easy project to learn that on because it doesn't have anything super wild or funky about the sleeves, except obviously normal decreases because I believe it's a tapered sleeve. It's not just like a straight sleeve or anything, but I think I'll be able to do that. So that's my goal, is to start to learn how to knit sleeves 2 at a time while having a little bit more mindless knit and also doing something I've already done before. I feel like it's the perfect time to take a little bit extra effort and learn how to help myself in the future. I'm pretty sure the only thing I'll wind up modifying is the length of the torso. But other than that, it'll pretty much be right to the pattern. I'm not doing anything else funky. So this is where I'm at with my second King Salmon sweater. And I'm loving it, mostly because of the yarn. Something else I wanted to talk about, and maybe this is a lot for one video because it feels like a lot to me. But also this is episode 1, so it's kind of a lot of setup. But kind of an acquisition. My parents and my brother and sister-in-law all went on a group trip to Iceland maybe a month ago. And I asked my mom to bring me back some yarn from the sheep there because they were so adorable. She kept on sending me pictures of sheep. And my brother is really good at photography, so he has taken several beautiful photos of sheep. I'll insert them here just because they're cute. And like I said, I love his photography, so why not? So that being said, my mom had picked up this in a gift shop while she was there in Iceland. And this is, I don't know if you can get this anywhere shipped or anything like that. I've not looked into it. But this is the Letlopi. I don't really know how to say this, and I sincerely apologize. I really do for my pronunciation. This is Lopi yarn, and it is 100% wool. And it doesn't really tell me the weight of it, or maybe I just don't know how to read it, honestly, but it's 100% Icelandic wool, and it suggests like a 4 to 5 millimeter knitting needle, so I'll just probably go by that. But it's only 100 meters per skein, so I don't really know what I'm gonna make with this yet. I'm not sure if I'm gonna try to do something where this is worked into a colorwork item, or if this is plain. I do have my eyes set on making some sort of balaclava hood scarf situation, but I don't really want to do the Sophie hood. I'm kind of hoping to find a pattern that has the turtleneck portion of it, as well as just a regular hood and just a little bit on the collarbone area, so that you can kind of fold the hood back but still have the collarbone turtleneck area covering that gap. Because I find when I get really cold, I start wearing bandanas with my sweatshirts to kind of close that hole where my neck gets all drafty, because like I said, I don't like layering. So I think that would be really practical. The only thing is, this is definitely not enough to make that. If you have a good pattern for that type of garment in a knit, I would really appreciate you sharing that, because I have not found the perfect pattern yet for that. I would love to knit it in like a neutral brown, or if I were to do a color, it would be this green, because I love this green. It's my favorite color, is this deep forest green, which is surprising that I've really not knit a ton of green items. I do have one sweater that I have knit that I wear all the time, but it's in more of like a mint matcha tea green. But yeah, this is something that I had acquired via my mom, but don't really know how to work it in yet. So if you have any ideas, I guess let me know. Different than knitting, and that's why I had prefaced this video as being a knitting / arts and crafts podcast. One of my Christmas projects is making my sister a vest. I really enjoy sewing. Am I good at it? Not so much. I like to think of myself as a very hodgepodge, fly by the seat of your pants type of sewer. So a lot of the things that I make are very, they're not bad. And I do try to take my time, but they're more for the joy of sharing. Okay, I put a lot of love into it, but I'm not really the greatest seamstress. So take it with a grain of salt type of projects. So my sister's birthday is coming up in January, and I pulled her name for Christmas. Shh, don't tell if you know her. Doubtful. So I am in the middle of making this vest for my sister, and I have been trying my hand at quilting things. Not really quilting in the sense of quilting squares and the geometric patterns and everything like that, more just like literally sewing down batting on, you know, sandwich pieces of cotton type of quilting. I have made a vest for my brother before, and it was really fun, and I loved it. Honestly, I don't know if he wears it. To each their own. I don't really care. It was more about the sentimental value, because I had made it out of an old comforter that we had like fond memories of as kids, and it meant a lot that way. So I think she wears a lot more layering pieces, so this kind of makes sense for her. So this is where I'm at so far. I do have, I'll take a step back. This is the inside, is the flower pattern, and this is the outside. So I did obviously all of the stripes in like a mid-tone green thread, which I really like. And then I had made my own, I had made my own bias tape and had sewn that onto some of it so far. I've gotten one of the back armholes done and the top portion, but here's the back of it all quilted, and I'll show you the front. So this is the front. Obviously it's not sewn together yet, but this is where we're at. See if I can position it a little better. But I thought it was really cute. I added the neon green piping here. And like I said, I'm not great at sewing straight lines. So yes, this is purposely sewn like 4 times around the edge to distract from the fact that it's not perfectly sewn. So that's kind of my trick, is like, okay, it's definitely handmade, but this is one of the pockets. So, and then like I said, I had made my own bias tape. So I did that all the way around, and the armhole. So the detail on this vest is that, oh my gosh, it's so hard to show you, is that it's got rounded corners and it kind of dips up a little bit, and the back is just a little bit longer and comes up. So that's where I'm at on that. So I guess if you have any tips on sewing, also I'm open to that, but that's where I'm at with this Christmas project. She is definitely a lover of green like I am. We share the same favorite color, and I think she's gonna like this. It's very cozy, comfy, but not super sweatingly hot. And I know that's not a word, but you know what I mean. I am probably about 2/3 of the way done with this project. Obviously, I have to sew the front panels to the back panel and, you know, cover up the inside seams with more bias tape. And I'll probably wind up hand sewing this pocket seam because I had forgotten to sew it before sewing the actual pockets on to the front. So kind of got to do some backtracking there, but instead of ripping this out, I'm literally just going to hand sew it. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind hand sewing, so that's why there are still pins in it. So that's my Christmas project that I'm hoping to wrap up pretty quickly. So that is all I have to share with you today, and I just really appreciate anybody who wants to watch and tune in and share their thoughts and comments and whatnot. So I really enjoy the knitting community here on YouTube, hence why I'm putting myself out there, and I hope that you enjoy the things that I enjoy, or at least enjoy watching me struggle through some things. I'm constantly learning so many things from the other people on YouTube, so I just figured I would share my experiences. I hope you join me again, and thanks for watching.